Hello, I'm UpYX Toycat, and is there any incentive to explore the Deep Dark right now? There doesn't seem to be any drops or loot worth even going after in vanilla survival, and there's not really any point, in my opinion, to fight the Warden, let alone interact with it unless you're combat savvy or want a challenge. And it's a good thing you asked this, DK Donkey Kong, because at risk of repeating myself for the 6th Q&A Saturday in a row, King B Dogs is the developer behind the Warden and the Deep Dark, and this week he tweeted in response to someone saying, is there any new content being added to the Deep Dark / the Warden behind the scenes as well? And he responds saying, for the Deep Dark, well, compared to the live scene, yes, there is a lot you haven't seen. Don't worry, it's not just a biome containing the Warden and then maybe a chest and nothing else, and some candles it looked like. No, there are going to be lots of things we haven't seen, and that is exciting because, you know, if there's just a few things, that could still give you reason to go to the Deep Dark, but he doesn't just say, yeah, there's going to be a few things you haven't seen, it's exciting, new stuff coming. He says there is going to be a lot, and, you know, I interpret that as meaning at least 2 to 3, if not much more, you know, new things in there that are worth going for. I predict that, you know, these aren't just going to be things like the Skulk Sensor and related kind of redstone stuff. I predict there are going to be real reasons to be here. Maybe it's new blocks, maybe it's new types of loot. There's something in there that is worthwhile, and we know that for a fact because King B Dogs has been talking about just how worried he is that the Warden will become like the Phantom, where it's more annoying than it is positive. And so many people have said that, like, yeah, what's the point of having a hard mob if you know, killing it doesn't give you anything, and it doesn't. I think it's going to be in that lot we haven't seen, and that's why it's really exciting. However, right now we have to kind of wait and see on that one, and that's why I wanted to go into the next question, because Isla Rolifer asks, how can you get these betas? You know, how can we see all these new exciting features that will one day include the Warden, amongst many other things? Then she says, do you just turn on caves and cliffs and experimental features, or is it more complicated than that? And so it's a lot more complicated than that, because Minecraft has 6 experimental toggles if you're playing not the beta, and now as of the latest beta there are 7 experimental toggles. And that doesn't just mean there are 7 experimental toggles, that means there's actually 7 experimental toggles in the beta which are different to the 6 in the main game, because if you turn on caves and cliffs in Minecraft right now, the main game that you have everywhere, that will give you an old version of experimental gameplay, whereas the latest version, the way to actually see all of these new features that you've seen in the videos in this last week, is you have to toggle that in the beta itself. In case you're curious about all those things do, there was actually an article published on the Minecraft feedback site that explains what all of these different types of betas are, because Java just has the snapshot, it's really easy to follow and understand, but Bedrock has all of these different separate betas that you can enable separately, so I figured I'd go through and explain them all to you. So Caves and Cliffs is the features under development that are intended to release in Caves and Cliffs Part 2. Holiday Creator Features was actually for last holiday season, but it's been in there this long now. It's data-driven block and item features. We're receiving item feedback on these items from marketplace creators and map makers, and since, by the way, I should mention I'm one of those map makers / marketplace creators. Oh, actually, this whole background gameplay you're seeing right now is me playtesting my own map to see what needs to be improved before we release it, because it is going into certification not long after I finish recording this video, actually, so that's going to be really exciting. And if you want to watch me play my own map for the first time, then you're doing it right now. And so yeah, all of these extra toggles besides caves and cliffs, they're actually intended at marketplace makers, because not every marketplace team has access to the weird admin copy of Minecraft where everything can be broken. It's a crazy thing, and so those marketplace developers, I'm one of them, use the betas to check out those features. Obviously, I don't use any of those features because I like the simplicity of raw Minecraft, but for people who do want to make custom biomes or play around with the API or actor properties and fog volumes in upcoming creative features, they can do precisely that. Then inside of the beta, it's all of those same things, except Caves and Cliffs is slightly different, all of the other features are slightly more developed, and the experimental Molang features is a brand new one, which is a new container for Molang experimental queries and language features that aren't tied to other experimental toggles. And so, of course, we all know what that means, right? I mean, we're all sophisticated human beings who know exactly what the Molang experimental queries are. Oh, do you not know what the new experimental Molang queries are? Oh, imagine being you, because I definitely understand them perfectly. Let's hope no one asks any more questions. Speaking of not asking any more questions, let's move into the third one, because Charles Ezra D says the real question is, when will Toycat get the chance to mine an entire Deep Dark biome? You know, I'm really torn after the update comes out. Should my first destruction project be a mountain or a Deep Dark, or a lush cave? I do really like clay, and I do need all those lush blocks because I only got moss this last week. I'm just saying, I've got a lot of options going on there, and I'm glad that Charles Ezra D understands that, of course, there's a new type of biome in Minecraft. I've got to destroy it. Speaking of destruction, Link asks, what happened to the big mountains? Now they just get to 150 to 180. There used to be mountains reaching up to 260, but none of the YouTube I've seen have shown any of them since spring. And this is true. Mountains right now are capped at 256 blocks. Officially, the reason is because they want to give you room to build on top of the mountains rather than having the mountain build all the way up to the height limit. It actually makes sense when you think about it. However, why don't they go up to 256 very often if that's the cap then? So first of all, I mean, there's a question of whether it really matters. I mean, 160 to 180 blocks is much taller than we get right now, and it does lead to stunning vistas like this one right here. By the way, I'm on top of a mountain that does only go up to 173 blocks. So I guess you're right, and there are just no mountains above that. But what it actually is, in my experience, is that mountains going higher than that are just exceedingly rare. Most mountains go to a little bit above the old cap of 128 on Bedrock. Again, on Java it's much higher. As you can see, this little mesa goes to 130, but most mountains are somewhere in that ballpark. But every now and then you find one that goes up to 160 to 180 to 200, and sometimes you find ones that use the entire height cap, and then those are mountains above mountains. For real, I'm at 160 blocks, this is already a mountain, and then that mountain towers above this one even more. I think by making these incredibly rare, and incredibly rare is not quite the right word, but by making these rarer than you'd expect, so rare that you haven't found them just by going around an average, it makes it much more significant, and that's why being on top of this thing at 253 blocks is so interesting. And even if you can scale this entire thing, look at the ludicrousness of this, by the way. It's not just one mountain, it's a mountain range at this height. It makes for a much more interesting seed this one time round, a much more interesting story, which is good for replayability rather than just the first seed you see looking exactly like the rest. But then, as you can see, it's just a stunning thing to just drop all the way down. Also, is that a jungle tree over there? What is that? It looks like one, right? Why is it so orange? I don't remember jungle leaves looking like this in past, but I guess that's how jungles are at this height maybe. But yeah, as you can see, it's really amazing in my opinion when you do find these new mountains and when you can look at them, because render distance has been reduced. But when you see the new mountains and they do look normal, they are stunning because they make the regular mountains that you've been seeing look like they're not even mountains. And that is a really cool effect in my opinion. So to round out your question there, Link, you're wrong, and I'm glad that you're wrong because it makes when the mountains reach up to 260 that much more impressive. Speaking of things that are impressive, the reluctant follower TRF Studios TM says, me, caveman, what's going on with Minecon? Ooga booga. I have no idea why this is a caveman question, but Minecon is one of the most exciting events of the Minecraft year because Minecon 2019 is where we voted for the mountain biome that you've been looking at this whole last week. Minecon 2020, and it's also where the Never update was revealed. Minecon 2020 is where we voted for... Let's not talk about what you voted for, but let's talk about the fact that we did see caves and cliffs for the first time, and so Minecon Live 2021 is going to be where we're going to hear about 1.19. What is going to be the next update after Caves and Cliffs Part 2 is finally finished? We're going to be finding out soon, except how do we know it's soon if they haven't given a release date yet? And the simple answer is since they've been doing these Minecon Live things, they did a Minecon Earth, but like that was a whole different thing. They've done some Minecon Lives for the last 3 years now, 2018, 2019, and 2020. And if we take a look at the dates those things were held, we can see that Minecon Live 2020 was October the 3rd. We can see Minecon Live 2019 was the September 28th. The 28th of September is what I was trying to say, and that Minecon Live 2018 was on the 29th of September. This tells us there is a very specific time they're trying to do these, which is the end of September, the start of October. Literally within a week period, we can tell that it's going to be happening somewhere between most likely the 27th of September and the 9th of October. That's the most likely time we're going to see this. That's when we're going to be hearing about the next update, and I guess that it's like a calculated thing that, like, okay, the summer is over, some of the hype for video games dies down because until the big November, December releases, games don't get as much hype, and that's a bad thing if you're a game studio that relies on selling games. And so let's build some hype by announcing the next big update. And so yeah, that's my guess as to why they do it in that particular time. Regardless of why they do, though, we're going to be hearing about Minecraft 1.19. It's going to be very exciting, in my opinion. And yeah, I'm also hoping that we'll hear about Minecraft Festival, because they were going to do, for the first time in half a decade, they were going to do a real Minecon that you could physically attend, and it was scheduled for September of 2020. What happened in September of 2020? I feel like there was something big going on in Florida at that point in time. You know, it's probably nothing. It's probably just a cancellation. But yeah, I'm excited to hear that maybe they'll be rescheduling it, you know, because we're moving into the world where people are actually doing things that, you know, whatever. It's going to be exciting. Minecraft 1.19, it's happening. We'll talk more about that in the future, but for now, I'm just excited. But what I'm really excited about is Unknown's question, because why do you talk so fast? Slow TF down, says Unknown. And it's funny because I wanted to share that I still get this comment basically every single day, and it's weird because I have significantly slowed down how fast I talk over the last 10 years here on YouTube. But for a lot of people, it's still like, but why are you doing it at not this speed? And the simple answer is twofold. One, I like to share things I'm excited about as fast as I can, but also it's so much worse to be a slow talker than a fast talker. You know, when you watch YouTube videos and it sounds like they're making the video for a mentally handicapped dog. Yes, you are learning information right now. Why was there a random pause in the word? Because I don't value your time very much, I guess we could say. Also, why am I talking like this? Because, like I said, you are a mentally handicapped dog. But do you know who's not a mentally handicapped dog? Joe Banana says, Toycat, are you on a holiday right now? And you know what? Aren't we all perpetually on holiday, if you think about it? No, that's not true. No, the reason my audio is bad, because usually it's like this when I'm like in a hotel room or something, is because I just moved into it. It's actually been a month. It's not just moved in anymore, but I moved into a new place, and I'm using the entire top floor. We call the like top floor of the little roofed, the arched roof is called a loft in the UK. I'm using the loft to record the videos, and it's funny because when I did my house tour, I shared the video of one of my friends, and they said, like unequivocally, the top room has the best sound. That is where you need to record. And so I set myself up here as like, yeah, we're gonna be in here and it's gonna be great, and then we can obviously be fine. But then I realized that no, that the best, according to them, was actually the echoiest, because one of the useful lessons in this is like, you know, when people give you casual advice from outside the space, you gotta always be cautious to like, how much of that is real? Just like how people tell me like, oh, if you tell people to like the video, you'll get paid more. And it's like, there's so many problems with that. The layman understanding is like a great way to help people understand a little bit, but there's so many misconceptions. And echo is not good for audio, as it turns out. That's why it sounds like I'm in a bathroom or something like that. And so I've been working on the soundproofing since then. It's not been going amazingly, but I guess we've just got to work a little harder. I'm sorry that I sound like I'm on holiday right now, but I'm actually, because of the house, I think it's the longest time since I've taken a flight willingly in a long time. You know, I could have taken a flight at any point in the last month, but I haven't. And it's sad because by the time I'm comfortable traveling around again, you know, once we've reestablished here on YouTube and stuff, it's probably gonna get to, you know, UK lockdown time again, where it's like you gotta stay at home and not be traveling, because as we all know, it's the foreign COVID that's the bad COVID. But speaking of things that are bad, the Shawshank Inception says, hey Toycat, what do you keep in your ender chest? Do you have a particular strategy for what you keep in there? And it's a good question you're asking, and so let's do ender chest review. So here is my ender chest, and let's explain every individual item and why it's in there, because I do have a very loose, very weirdly put together strategy that I figured I'd explain, because the first thing you need in an ender chest has to be more ender chests. The smartest place to store your ender chests is inside your ender chest. That way, if you need to place a ton of them, you know where you're going to get it from, right in there. So that's step one. Put your ender chests in your ender chest so you can start growing your ender chest empire, because if you just have one ender chest, it's just a regular chest. If, like me, you have 20 to 30 of them around your world, now we're talking. I do intend to craft more. I've been meaning to do that for a while, but 4 ender chests, it's fine. 64 64 fireworks because if I'm in a situation where I've brought my ender chests, I'm probably exploring somewhere and I'll probably appreciate those 64 fireworks a lot. 34 emeralds, just because emeralds are one of those currencies that are very easy to get in specific parts of your world, but very annoying to get in other parts, and sometimes you need it in those specific parts again, and so I just figured, you know what, I'm going to put my emeralds in this ender chest. There's a stack of them, but there's also an individual little pile, because you put them in the pile till they get too big, then you turn them into blocks, and they turn into stack. Easy. Then there's a totem of undying, because it's just the sort of thing. When you're exploring, you might want that. There's 4 books in there because they look like Oreo ice cream sandwiches. Is that enough of an excuse? Then we've got 13 gold because I like to be unlucky, and more seriously, I personally am just of the belief that you need to have all your minerals carry around with you at any point in time. You never know when, for instance, you're going to need diamonds, because I have my 62 diamonds right here. I used to carry around a couple of stacks, then I realized I'm not really crafting diamond tools very often because you don't need to craft anything diamond once you have a decent enough village, which is sad, so I just have 62 lonely little diamonds. Then I have a shulker box inside here. If you are going to have an ender chest, and if you do have limited space, use shulker boxes. That shulker box is filled with 27 stacks of cooked beef, so if you do download the Let's Play world, sadly you don't get access to those. What a waste. A second totem of undying, 16 sticks for the aforementioned diamond tools I don't craft, a potion of weakness in case I want to convert a villager on the fly, 10 small drip leaf because I just picked them up and I was like, I need these somewhere but I don't know where, 2 blocks of iron for the previous reason, 6 golden apples to go with that potion of weakness, because obviously you can cure the villager, but also, just in case, I don't know, I'm fighting a boss, golden apples are good to keep in one place, in my opinion, just like soul torches. Okay, they're in there for reasons I don't really know. Same with the prismarine, same with the name tags, the 7 gold, the 13 gold blocks. Okay, that actually makes sense. There's a map of some form. There's 31 diamond ore, because I build them up in here to eventually mine them in one beautiful Minecraft Let's Play episode every year or two. Then I've got 2 conduits and 36 of those little, the Nautilus shells, I think they're called, because, and the reason there is that, again, they're super powerful items. Anything that has a very high power level and that you don't want to get lost in a chest somewhere and then never see again, it's a smart thing to put in an ender chest if, like me, you have serious organization problems. I mean, looking around this chest should tell you, if this is my organized chest, you'd hate to see my unorganized ones, which you can do in the Let's Play world. There's a new update for it, which is still in certification. It's been in certification for a month now, but you'll be able to see the Let's Play world soon, I hope, as well as this map in the background. Yeah, plugging my own map 1 second time. Speaking of things I've got to plug myself, Norton Exists says, if I commit a crime anywhere in space, is it a crime? And the answer is there are no written laws about space yet. It's under the jurisdiction of no one, or the common humanity, but in reality, if it's a big enough crime, then we'll just make it a crime retroactively, because that does happen every now and then. You know what? You better be cautious with the crimes against humanity in space. However, not stopping at stop signs is probably a-okay, but I'm not a space lawyer, don't ask me for advice. You know, why is it that people always say I'm not giving legal advice on the internet? I am giving you legal advice right now. I'm not a lawyer, but I'm going to do it anyway. You can run a stop sign in space, and I bet it's a-okay. Speaking of things that are a-okay, Handox West Allen says, can we talk about the fact that we spend hours, or sometimes sometimes with a looting free sword to get 1 wither skull, and this man got 1 in seconds of looting 2. That was on my seed video where I played the POC edition to prove that you can go to the end, even on a phone, in 10 minutes on this seed. And then here's a second comment saying the same thing. What is this guy's luck? A wither skeleton skull when he's not looking for one? Funny, internet catman is a pro. And this is the interesting approach to luck that people tend to have, which is that we focus on one bit of luck and we say, wow, that's really lucky. And we don't tend to think about all the things that weren't so lucky. I mean, for instance, in that same run, there could have been more piglins, and you've been like, wow, that's crazy having 6 piglins spawn at once. It was the normal number. When there's enough points that something can go lucky in, odds are something rare and interesting will happen all the time. Just like how if 37 people play roulette all betting on one number but in quick succession, 36 of them will fail and one of them will get really lucky. But in reality, those other 36 people who got unlucky at the roulette wheel might get lucky on something else. They might find money on the floor on the way to the casino. I don't know luck, but my point is we focus on very specific points of luck and not all of the not luck, because I don't know, we're just weird creatures and we're wired to look for coincidences, which has a lot of benefits in some ways, but probably a lot of downsides in others. And speaking of downsides in others, I hope you all enjoyed this video, because its biggest downside is that it has to end. I really need to eat, and if you'd like to join me in eating, then make sure to eat that subscribe button, eat the bell, and maybe eat the like button if you want me to get more money, because we all know that's how YouTube works. It's definitely not based on ads or views or becoming a member on the channel. No, it's based on liking the video, so smash that like button, and I'll see you next time. Goodbye.